Welcome back to another episode of the Breadwinner Energy Podcast. Hello, friends. We are back with a guest. I have not had a guest on for quite some time, but you guys can expect to have guests coming in because we have quite a few people on the roster coming up in the next few episodes. So stay tuned for that. Today, I'm talking to Julie Chen. She's a successful realtor who resides in New Hampshire. She's licensed in Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire and leads a team of agents licensed in Vermont, Maryland, New Hampshire, and upstate New York. Julie is a mother of three who previously homeschooled her children and was a stay-at-home mother. She thrives on productivity and has an intense drive and work ethic, my kind of lady, of course. In 2 years, she went from being overwhelmed and scared with zero confidence to over $10 million in annual sales. She currently shares her wisdom in her private Facebook group, her podcast, and offers online weekly coaching, support sessions, and mentoring. She's the author of the Real as Fuck Guide for New Real Estate Agents and the creator of the Real as Fuck Toolkit and membership that's launching soon. Her goal is to be an advocate for new agents, so after the exam, they have a safe landing place to seek wisdom and guidance on the path to success. Welcome, Julie. I'm so excited to have you today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, we were just talking a little bit before, and we were talking about just how we do all the things. And so, really excited to get into today's episode and talk about how do you do all the things.
It's
So,
called Give Up Your Sleep. No.
right? Exactly. So, first, I want to say hello and welcome. Tell us about you, your business, your journey, your life. Tell us everything.
Okay, let's break it down. After being a stay-at-home mom who homeschooled 3 kiddos, married 25 years, I found myself in divorce, and I hadn't worked, so I had to figure all that out. So I started college at 47 and graduated with my bachelor's in psychology at 50 and passed the real estate exam 2 weeks after that because I didn't wanna waste any time, and I found out really quickly that in my area, the jobs my daughter, who was in high school at the time, made more money per hour working at Michael's craft store than I would. And so I went back in and talked to my counselor at the college, and she said, "Well, you need experience to get your master's degree, so you're gonna have to go get a job." And they pay $12 an hour. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a single mom of three. I really can't pay much on that." So I signed up for the real estate exam. And I had taken the class the year before, but I was terrified of the exam. So I just put it on the back burner and was very cozy in my procrastination because I had plenty of good excuses to keep me away from it. Um, that's what I do. I get uncomfortable. I put it away for a little while. I'm better at calling myself out quicker now.
Yes. Yeah, that's amazing. So you homeschooled your children. Did you do that all the way until they were gone, college, adult?
No, eh, so my first daughter, my oldest daughter, she's the one who brought it up to us. It really wasn't my thing. I had a wonderful social life during the day that I really didn't want to give up.
Mhm.
And so, second grade, we're sitting down. I'm originally from Florida, and we had a great private school in our town in Bradenton down there. And so we're at the dinner table discussing the contract for the school.
Mhm.
And this little cutie says, "You and daddy haven't done your homework on homeschool that you said you would." And it was like a year or two before, like totally called out. So we
They're
felt like crap. So we put her to bed and we studied, and he reached out to deans of colleges that he knew he wanted to understand. He's very academic, and
yeah,
he wanted to know what the deans thought of homeschoolers. So yeah, he was more worried, like, could I handle it because
yeah.
I had some nice daytime hours. Get
Yeah, so I'm currently homeschooling. My daughter is 6 and a half.
out.
I just had a daughter, she's a couple months old.
Oh, congratulations.
I'm also wondering if I made the right decision because I too want my own daytime hours. How did you how did you manage? How did you do it?
That was a partnership. It wasn't smooth
Mhm.
because I don't think he understood how to be smooth. Like, as moms, we know how to navigate saying we need time for XYZ without the ones we care about taking it as if we don't want to be with them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So he would tell them, I used to get so mad. He would tell them, "Oh, we're gonna go out to lunch, and then we're gonna go, mini golfing, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that. Mom needs alone time." Like, really, there was just you could have just been like, "It's Daddy Daughter's Day."
Right?
Like, done. Mom
Yeah,
gets you all the time. Today's my day. But, like, whatever. I know he tried his best, but epic fail every single time.
that's men, right? What do you
But
do?
he did it, so props to him, you
It's
know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it takes a special kind of person to homeschool their children because it is hard.
It's really hard.
It's very hard, but I'm trying to believe it's worth it. But private school has been something I have considered like every year for the last 2 years.
And so that's totally normal. Uh, I I remember almost every day wondering, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing enough? Am I screwing up their future? I took the responsibility incredibly serious. In fact, my children.
Mhm.
So, in 2013, my divorce started, and by 14, I put them into school because I realized that with everything I was juggling with the divorce and figuring out my next steps, I was not keeping up with the grading. So here
Mm.
my children were being responsible and doing their job, and I was failing them. So I sat them down and called myself out. I think it's really important to have that a high level of honesty and communication because it is such a tough job. And so one of the things that I noticed, um, besides not grading their papers in a timely manner, uh, was that I took the job just so seriously. Like, they're not going to get into a college unless I'm like super perfect, amazing, right? And so imagine the divorce starts. They go into school. The little ones were fourth and fifth grade at that time. That's when they found out what weekends were. I'd never taken a break.
Yeah.
We schooled 9 to 11 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Oh my god.
I I'm really just one extreme or the other, absolute
Yeah.
nightmare. And then, I did eclectic, so I created the full curriculum and all the subjects and all the lesson plans,
Shut the
and
front door.
3 kids, 3
Wow.
different learning styles, 3 grades.
Amazing.
Stupid.
Right? Women are literally capable of anything. I swear they are. So, oh my god.
Yeah.
I did buy a curriculum. We have a part-time homeschool teacher in Missouri. You as the parent, you have to homeschool more than the other person, but we do have
Yeah.
someone that comes in twice a week, and really she's like my daughter's like BFF, right? They like make bracelets together and they do homeschool. She's a legitimate teacher, but they also have a lot of fun together. Um,
Love that.
yeah, but we've also done a little bit of unschooling. So we've put her in sports
Yeah.
and activities, but then also like learning real life things, which
Mhm. Critical.
yeah, it's really awesome to watch because at 6.5, people will be like, she's so smart, she's so intelligent, she like gets sarcasm and jokes at like 6.5 years old. But also it backfires a lot because she's very sassy. And I'm like, I have to be with you all day, every day. This is a lot.
Reading time.
Right? Yes.
You know, that's the trick is that when you can, which is not all the time, there's certain work that children can be focused on,
Hmm.
and you can literally take that as your mommy time out.
Yep. I do that.
Even sometimes I would just do that, and I'd go in the bathroom and I'd be crying because was exhausted and I wanted some alone time and I wanted no one to talk to me. And I'd pull myself together and go back out. Lunchtime, and then I'd go cooking or whatever.
My God, this is so real. Yes. And I feel like too, it's really hard to, for me anyway, to balance that plus working and then having a partner who works a 9 to 5. So at the time, did your husband work and then you were parenting solo all the time?
Yeah, so he's still to this day is a physician, so he worked crazy hours and had on-call schedule at the emergency room and such, so yeah.
I get
But,
it. My husband's a state trooper.
always juggled that.
Yeah.
You what?
My husband's a state trooper, so I get it.
Okay, yeah, so all first responders share that kind of crazy schedule, I think.
So, and we're a little bit off topic here, but I think this also plays back into the balance, right? So,
Mhm.
how do you not build resentment to your partner when you're taking care of the home, the children, the life, essentially?
Well, at the time, I and to this day, and we're really close now, which is just beautiful, especially for our kids.
Absolutely.
Um, I have an overwhelming amount of gratitude to him
Mhm.
for allowing me providing the opportunity for me to stay home.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Wow, so my kids are not that one way is different from the other. Um, my kiddos are all adopted, so I got them at different ages from China. And gosh, I just think back to the moment I got them in China, and just thinking about it, literally tears could fall from my eyes. If I knew I had to come home on the plane from China and be back to a 9 to 5 job or whatever that would look like, a week or a month after I got back, I would just be crushed.
Yeah.
So I always loved home. I loved cooking all the meals. My kids hadn't even had any junk or cereal or prepackaged anything until like they got a little older and got friends. And I remember my oldest coming home. Oh my gosh, it was like so amazing. She had mac and cheese for the first time. And I'm like, oh,
I worked so hard not to do that.
yeah, I'm, like, way past that, like, whatever, grab some
Yeah.
chips.
Right?
They're older now.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's honestly why I chose to homeschool too, is being with your children and not having to send them away if you literally don't have to, right? But then there's also this balance of, like, needing that time to yourself, and so I think it's so critical what you said was that he gave you that opportunity where, for me specifically, I'm the breadwinner, right? I make all the
Mm,
money and I work. So to do that plus the children, plus the home, that's a lot on one person. And so for our community,
yeah,
a lot of our women are either single mothers, breadwinners, or maybe like they're trying to get out of some kind of financially abusive situation where sure
mhm,
maybe he makes the money and allows her to stay home, but that comes with allowance, right? That comes with only being allowed to have certain things or certain money if he permissions you versus like that partnership. And so I think that when talking about creating this balance, right, between life, between motherhood, between work, it's where do you take care of yourself? Like where's space for that? Right? Because
I
even
mean,
for
yeah,
you said 7 days a week. Where did you have time for
yeah,
you?
I didn't,
Yeah.
I
Until
didn't, but it took me I would have, like, this inner psychological meltdown that was very quiet on the outside anyway, and that's when I would be like, "Can you take the kids and, go have that time?" So, I think that happened a couple of times a year. I'm grateful for it all now because I realize my work schedule, people make fun of me, uh, for how much I can work,
yep.
and I attribute having not worked as an adult and then having to start over at 50, I attribute my success to my time as a stay-at-home mom, juggling all of that, the house,
Yeah.
3 kids, the sports, the music lessons. the homeschooling, all
Mhm.
of it.
Yeah,
I couldn't do what I'm doing right now if I didn't do that.
100%. I tell everybody, I run multiple businesses, multiple six-figure businesses, and I have for 8 years. And the hardest job I have is to be a mom that stays at home with her kids. That is the hardest job on this planet. And so I think it's comical when people are like, "Oh, you're just a stay-at-home mom." I'm like, "That is the
Oh, it's
hardest job in the
annoying. It's
world."
just so annoying. Like, look down your nose. Like, good luck. Why don't you try it for a month?
Right? You
And
would
not
crumble.
just try it, but do it and be good, because I was
Yep.
good at that. I
Oh,
mean, yes, I overworked them. I
that's
didn't realize.
I mean, honestly, too, I think that that instills something in children that they will forever be grateful for in their adulthood, right? Is having that work ethic. I think my parents did that for me. And today I feel like I have really strong work ethic because of it. And so I think that's a great thing you did for your children. So, okay, you started over at 50. Tell me why. Like, did you have to? Did you want to? Both?
I had to, because the divorce started in 2013, so 47. Um, or no, I guess so. How old was I? Well, regardless, so 47, and then, I graduated college in March of 2018. So during that period of time was me trying to figure out, like, okay, I need to be self-sufficient, right? Like, how do I earn money? What do I do? And I just had my mom in my head from a zillion years ago telling me that you have to go to college. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
But I mean, I do use what I learned, uh, whether I realize it or not. It's just part of every day and part of my job as well. But real estate was something I thought about going into in my early 20s. But then, we had gotten together and then we got married and decided to adopt our first kiddo. So that was my whole focus.
Yeah. So, okay, so you went to school, got your psychology degree, then you did real estate, and that's what you do today, right? Is real estate or both?
So I am a real estate agent,
Mhm.
a realtor, and I have a team with uh, 6 agents on board and with an executive assistant. And then last year I was laying in bed with COVID last May of 22 and wrote a book. It
Tell me
was
about it.
something, yeah, so it was something that I thought about from the very beginning of getting my real estate license. I worked so hard to pass that exam because I was terrified of the exam itself. And I passed it and I was like overjoyed. And then in the exact same breath was like, how do I do the job? What about these contracts? They're legal contracts. So I literally am such a nerd. I went online and looked up law schools because keep in mind I'm in that educational mind, right? Because I was just getting done with school. And I was looking up law schools where I could get a law degree online so that I could be safe handling all these documents. So I was just very, very lost. And the whole thing was very overwhelming to me. All the different programs I had to learn and the contracts and learning how to just do the job in general. And I couldn't believe that there wasn't a book that could help people navigate the beginning process. It just didn't need to be that hard.
Yeah.
And I was angry that it didn't exist. So finally last year, what's that? 4 years after I got my license, I started writing.
So then the book published now, right? Will
Yep,
publish.
published in May.
Tell me from laying in bed with COVID to having it published, what was that like? What was the experience? What did you have to go through? So many people. Okay, first, let me pause. I always ask people if you had to write a book tomorrow, what would you write about, right? That's my infamous bonus question that I ask every single person that's ever been on this podcast for years. I've always wanted to write a book. All of my followers, guests have always wanted to write a book. No one's done
Interesting.
it. Nobody's ever done it.
You have to apply yourself.
Well, yes.
Just make the decision, carve out the time,
Yep.
and just start. Like, don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it. It literally could be you grab your cell phone and in your notepad you're doing talk to text, or I mean, there's not a ton of room in that. You'd be better off opening a Google Drive and doing a talk to text into that. But literally you could start that simply.
Yeah. Then what? Do you have to find someone to get it published, or can you self-publish?
W you can self-publish, so that's what I did. I looked around and researched all the different publishing companies and decided on one and pulled the trigger. What I can tell you that I've experienced that I hadn't anticipated
Yeah.
is how vulnerable I feel
Mhm.
having it published.
Really
I
is.
wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah. I always say I wanna write a book, but I'm the same way, like, I don't want people to know my inner thoughts because that's
Right? Yeah. And the judgment. Like, okay, I started real estate in 2018. Who do I think I am
scary.
writing a book for
Mhm.
new real estate agents? But the more I thought about it, I thought, I'm not saying I'm an expert of the real estate industry. I'm not trying to put myself on the level with some of the incredibly well-known coaches that are out there. What I am saying is I understand the beginning, and I'm definitely an expert of navigating that beginning. And I was able to put all my thoughts down that every agent goes through. The reality is the book would be best in the hands of someone who's actually in real estate school or thereafter. It's just that the person in real estate school, they could open this. There's a chapter on what does the job entail,
Mm.
right? Um, how do you interview at brokerages? What sort of questions you should ask? Why should you ask those? Because it depends on what's important to someone. If they want a brokerage that focuses on community, or if it's just the dollar that matters.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I didn't miss any important topic, and it just flowed right out of me, but then I must say putting it together and hiring an editor who's monkeying with your words when you thought you did pretty good,
Yeah,
it's
I know,
annoying.
so annoying. And I
So
think
editing wasn't fun.
yeah, I bet. That would be the worst part. I don't even edit most of my podcasts unless guests come, and I don't edit emails, and my team is like, "Oh my gosh, there's this is garbage. You just missed so many spelling errors." And I'm like, "Let me live my life." But I wanna go back. I think it's interesting you said, "Who am I to write this book when I don't know everything?" And I hear this as a coach daily, right, from students. I hear it all the time. Who am I to become a coach, to have a program, to start coaching when I don't know it all, right? There's millions of coaches out here. Other people are doing this. And I
Mhm.
tell every single person that it's not about who you are or who you aren't. It's about the people who wish that they had this knowledge that you have, right? Because you're coaching some version of your past self. That's it. That person that you used to be and you wished someone was out there to hold your hand and help you and tell you, that's the only person that you're here to help. And if you don't give her that information and show it for her, what if no one does? Right? She's
Right?
out there looking just like you were. And you're
Yeah.
doing her a disservice if you don't do that for her.
It's so true. I think it's critical to not be intimidated
Mhm.
by others in the arena. You just have to kind of put blinders on and stay in your lane and focus. It's like for real estate, I never go into the brokerage office and work. I
Yeah.
never have, even in the beginning.
Mhm.
I like to be home in my space. I can put my head down and work, and I'm not distracted by the noise. Otherwise, I would doubt myself, and I don't know. I'd get too wrapped up in things that really can only hurt me.
Oh, absolutely. It's like being on social media, spending all day consuming instead of creating, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, same concept. So tell us, okay, you mentioned you're from Florida. Is that what you just said?
I am. Yeah, I grew up there.
You still live there?
No, I'm in New Hampshire now. I've been here since '07. It's not like I just moved here yesterday. I just always consider Florida home, so I always get weird like that. But my youngest is about to move into a college dorm a week from today. I can hold myself together. So I may end up back home over the next couple years.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Being back home in Florida, like
Yep.
a goal anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah, definitely.
I have a dream of like one of my big goals is to buy a home or a part-time home in Florida. We go every year as a family and
Mm.
I never want to leave. And every time we leave, I cry the whole way home. So I'm like, I want to live here and never leave. It's so magical.
Oh, and wouldn't that be neat if I got my Florida license and I was down there when that year happened and I helped you fulfill that dream? It's a cool part of real estate. I love the buy
Yes,
journey. It's
into
awesome.
existence. This is happening.
Right?
Amazing. Okay, so you've wrote a book. Was writing a book on the list because you wanted to help other people? Was it because you always knew you wanted to write a book? You love reading? Like, tell me what got you.
Wow. Yeah, no. I did love reading, and before I worked, I read it almost every day, I bet. But once working, pretty much all the things that I really like doing, I just have not figured out how to juggle that yet. Um, I wrote the book because I was so frustrated that it didn't already exist. I didn't feel like it needed to be as hard as it was.
Yeah.
Some people are territorial and secretive over things, which is just BS. There's plenty of business for everybody. Why is it so hard to be helpful and kind? One of the first brokerage meeting I ever went to, and there's lots of amazing people at the brokerage that I joined, but my very first meeting, I'm going in, I've never been in this business type setting before, right? And the meeting's at a restaurant, so I'm eyeing the tables. I'm like a, I don't know, 15-year-old or whatever. I was a wreck. And I find a place to sit and I'm really quiet. And then at some point, I get brave enough to ask the person across from me a question. And I asked her, how do you go about finding business when you're a new agent? And she laughed and said, tap the person next to her. So let's just include more people in this. Um, you'll figure it out. We all had to.
Yeah.
So what she doesn't know is that I cried the full 30 minutes from that meeting to the middle school to pick my daughter up
I hope she's
because I felt embarrassed and stupid about my question. And then I just felt like, you're a bitch. Like,
yes.
why can't you be helpful? So that's the moment where I'm like, why isn't there a book to help me like understand like what are all the things?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when. So I kept thinking about it and talking about it and hadn't pulled the trigger. And then May of 22, there I was
So
in bed with my computer.
amazing. What's the name of your book?
It is the Real as Fuck Guide for New Real Estate Agents.
Oh my God, I'm looking at it right now. I love it. Real as fuck guide. I am obsessed with being real as fuck. Like that's, I'm
Yeah,
sure you know,
same. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So then now
No
you
secrets.
have real as fuck program, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So what I'm building around the book is a membership platform that like the marketing they'll call me, productivity coach and this an expert and whatever. Really all I want is a platform where we can get together and these new agents feel encouraged and supported and that it's a safe non-judgy zone. Like, what are your questions? We're not going to say you'll figure it out.
Yes.
Like, that's so annoying to me.
Point.
So I have a podcast, I have the book, the membership platform will be starting up, and I also created a toolkit for agents, like, because we just have to have so much junk in our car for the job for like every possible scenario that may come up, like batteries for a chirping smoke detector, you name it. Um, so I put that together as well. So we'll see. My
This
new venture.
So awesome. I love it. I love the coaching industry because I am too, like you, of helping people, right? Being in service of people because I too was that girl who started a business at 23. I was 7 months pregnant. I was a college dropout. I had no idea how to run a business and I had to piece it all together alone. And it was lonely and frustrating and overwhelming. I felt like everyone else had their life together and I didn't. And right. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, too, similarly is experiencing this whole like not willing to share or give. And so as a coach, my students know I'll tell you any and everything. I will give you the most behind the scenes
Same.
unglamorous shit ever. Because honestly, it's such a disservice to people if you get into this industry and you start coaching or you start building a business and you don't really know what it takes and you hit your head against the wall because you've gotten to this stopping point where you can't move forward and you quit because you think, well, this isn't happening to everyone else. Instead of coaches opening the door to, oh yeah, this happens to me still, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
my students will be
absolutely.
like, I wanna quit, I wanna burn it down, and I'm like, I make multiple six figures, and I too have days where I want to burn it down, so you're not alone, right, and experiencing that with other people, so I love that you've created this realist book and
Oh,
program, and for these women to come and feel like you're not gonna be judged, right? It's unfiltered, you get to be yourself, we're gonna
yeah.
love you and support you. So, um, I'm gonna ask, what was the like the best advice that you would give anyone, any woman who feels like she too has gotten maybe stuck in the road, right? Like maybe she is going through a divorce, maybe she's not where she wanted to be at a certain point of her life, and she feels like, well, this is it for me, right? Like I want to say, my mom, she's in her 50s. I tried to get her to leave her corporate job that she doesn't enjoy because she's so talented in other ways. But she's gotten to this point where she's like, this is it for me. Like, this is the end of the road, right? I'm in my 50s. What would you tell her?
Wow, stop. I think it's so incredibly important to believe in yourself and give yourself permission to try new things and not be afraid of failure. I think failure holds so many people back and it's so unnecessary. For me, I never lose sight of the fact that I have 3 beautiful children watching me. Maybe they listen to me, but they definitely watch me. And so through my modeling, they learn what work ethic is all about.
Oh my gosh, I have chills. I have chills on my arms.
Oh,
So good. So good. I hear this from people all the time too. I'm so afraid to fail. I'm like, if you're not failing, are you trying? Because failure is redirection.
yeah. I don't wanna fail. Um, but my thing is I don't wanna have a regret. So that's pretty much how I've always run my life. Even perfect example, my divorce, 2013, I asked for a divorce. Did I love him when I asked for the divorce? Yes. Do I love him today? Yes. But at that time, I felt like there's supposed to be more. I just couldn't shake the feeling, and I didn't want to look back at 60 and have a regret. So I made my decision, and I don't allow myself to sort of wallow in self-pity for too long. Like, if I'm upset or stressed out about something, I always give myself a time limit to feel, process, and move on.
Yes, absolutely. Me too. It's not worth it. If it's not worth it, if it's not going to be worth it in 5 years, 5 minutes, five
Yeah.
months, right?
But yeah, people waste too much time overthinking. So I don't know. I like to just I'm not impulsive per se. I'm strategic in my thinking, but I won't spend a lot of time on it. I
Yeah.
just make my decision yes or no and I go.
Well, oh my God, yes. We have got to talk more offline. I feel like we would be best friends. I'm the same way. Don't spend time in mind drama. Just make a decision and love the decision. There's no such thing as a right decision. You're gonna at some point hate both decisions regardless.
Right? Yeah. Oh yeah, can say I don't know that I've met anyone's a strong word. So many people that think that way, because right off the top of my head, I can't actually think of a single one.
That's good to know. But yeah, I'm always that way. Just decide. Just love the decision.
Yeah,
Move forward, and you can always change
yeah.
your mind later. So I always end the show with our bonus question. If you had to write a book tomorrow, what would you write about? What you already have? So my question to you is, are you going to write another book?
You know, I don't know. It was a good experience. I'm definitely proud of myself for doing it. I know my children are proud of me for having the idea and following through, so that means a lot to me. One thing that's really been on my mind to write is something to my children. So
Ooh, I like that.
when the off chance, I'm well, not off, obviously, we're all going to die one day, but when people die, you're just left there in your grief. And as you do navigate through that and come out on the other side, but you then have all these questions and just things you wonder about and you're like, "Oh, I wish I could ask." And I've thought about this for, I'd say, at least 6 months. I want my children to know and feel through my words how I feel about them and things in life that I think are important, and likewise things that are absolutely a waste of time. And so I do have this, it's very brand new thought process of putting that down for them.
Oh my god, I love it. I'm trying not to cry. I'm like holding back tears.
Huh.
I'm a mom of two girls, and I'm not going to get into like the trauma of what I'd experienced, but to give that to your children so that they don't experience those things is
Yeah. Yeah, we need to pass it on. It's no different than writing this book or someone who's listening and writing a book on something they feel passionate about. And that's actually the key. You need to have passion behind your idea. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to go do this,"
yes,
and not believe in it and believe in yourself. Even if you're a little shaky on yourself, that's okay. I think that's normal. But you've got to be passionate about your topic.
yes, 100%. Absolutely. You have to love you there has to be some kind of love to keep you going because it will get hard to say the
Yeah,
least.
editing. I would call him and I'm like, "I can't read another one of my words again. I hate this." He's like, "You just need to walk away from it for a week." And I'm like, "Maybe forever."
I'll never be back. Thanks.
He was very patient with me.
Thank God. All right, so I want to wrap up here. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your story and your journey with all of our listeners. Tell them, where can they find you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed this and I look forward to conversations off camera.
Absolutely.
uh, Listeners can find me at realafprogram.com, and we're on all the social media platforms at Real AF Program.
Amazing. It'll all be linked down in the show notes. You guys can go ahead, check her out, check out her book, her program, at least just focus.
Amazon too.
Ooh, my favorite. I'll have to be over there. Check you out. So again, thank you so much for being here. And to all of the listeners, thanks for being here, and we'll catch you on the next episode.